There we go. There we go. So I'm going to record this, guys, and then I'll send you the file. My name's Matt, by the way. You're Craig. I think I saw some of your stuff earlier. It was pretty funny.
Greetings, Matt. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. And like I said, I'm just going to record this flat. I'm not going to use like OBS or anything like that. And then I will just send you the file. And just I guess a little bit of kind of background on sort of my epistemology here is I'm actually not somebody that I would call myself a flat earther, but I do have I am not also a heliocentric person either. I have a different point of view altogether, and so my attempt here is just to moderate and be as neutral as possible. And I'm going to keep my opinions to myself and let you guys do your thing. And I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
Excellent. Thank you for hosting.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, appreciate it. Nice to meet you.
You too.
Abel, nice to finally speak.
Yes. What do you want?
Sorry?
What do you have?
Well, let me know what issues you have with the things that I say, and we can discuss it.
We're living on a disk, floating through space, with a tiny sun.
Well, I remember asking for your best scientific evidence, and
Scientific evidence of what specifically?
Your positive claim of living on a sphere.
Well, I've personally measured the rotation of the Earth following the scientific method.
How'd you validate the cause of your effect?
By finding out what an independent variable was in my experiment.
And what was your independent variable?
Position on Earth.
So according to you, then position was your cause of the effect.
Yeah, the position would be the cause of the effect, which would be the dependent variable, the measured effect, which in this case would be the predicted drift of a swinging pendulum.
What was the independent variable? I mean, the dependent. What was the?
I literally just told you the dependent variable. I don't know, you were not listening there. The dependent variable, the measured effect, which is in response to the independent variable in the experiment I used to determine that the Earth is rotating, would be the predicted drift of the swing of a pendulum.
Got it. So a pendulum.
Yes.
Okay. So you're on board that science does prove things then?
No, science does not. There's no such thing as scientific proof. That's not a thing that exists.
Thank you very much for the debate. I don't think there's much sense in going on with this. This is kind of ridiculous.
Oh, do you disagree that scientific proof is not a thing?
Hold on, slow down. Let Abel finish real quick, and then go ahead.
It just seems kind of mindless to go on beyond the point if someone says science does not prove or validate cause.
There's literally no such thing as scientific proof. That is not something that exists.
Yeah, I know where you're going with this. I've heard this from you countless times. So
I mean, it's a fact.
You have no evidence. In other words, you're giving your pendulum.
I have lots of evidence. Okay, evidence doesn't equal proof. Okay. Proof is something that lives specific. Let me finish what I'm saying. In science, Abel, let me finish what I'm saying. In science.
Well, hold on, guys. Okay, break. Wow. Abel is close. I think Abel is close to his point. So what we can do here is we'll go question and answer a little bit more, because I'd like to hear Abel finish, and Craig, I really want to hear what you have to say, because I have a question for you too, but go ahead, Abel. Go ahead.
Pendulum. He gave us as his so-called scientific evidence. You do understand that science is the study of the physical and natural world. Yes.
Absolutely, science is the study of the physical and natural world.
Swinging in our walk through nature or the beach or the forest. When do we see that?
In science, natural refers to everything in the physical world, be it energy, matter, or data.
Man-made?
No, man-made as well. Yes, absolutely. Everything in science, and I have citations for this. I'm not just saying. Abel, you need to let me finish what I'm saying.
Right? I have a man-made.
Abel, let me finish what I'm saying. Please don't interrupt. In science, specifically, natural refers to anything that is not supernatural. It refers to Abel. Once again, I'm still talking. If you could stop, thank you very much. In science, natural refers to anything in the physical world that is matter or energy. Anything at all, be it man-made or in nature. Yes, and I have citations to back me up that this is the case. That is what in science natural means. Do you understand?
The effect, that they conjured the phenomenon. I'm sorry, you conjured it.
No, I have not conjured anything. I predicted it following the scientific method.
And then you gave it a presupposition.
There's no presuppositions. It's a prediction, Abel. Are you unaware of how science works, Abel?
First you gave me tides. I remember tides was
okay. We're not talking about tides right now. So let's stick to the things that we're talking about right now, Abel. Stop jumping around on subjects. Stick to one thing at a time, young man. Come on, child. One thing at a time. One thing at a time. Right? We're talking about pendulums right now, not tides.
It's a man-made phenomenon. You're just
yes, and that's part of nature. That's part of natural in science.
No.
I have citations to back up that I'm right. So
automobile.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So, hey guys, hey gentlemen, slow down. I was. Let me offer a little bit of framing for the battlefield here. Would it be accurate to say that science disproves things?
Science is able to disprove, yes. That's okay. Kind of what science is for.
Abel, would you? Is that a good sort of battlefield way to frame it?
Yes, we've also used science to prove the cause of diseases and create cures.
There's no such thing as scientific proof.
There's no such thing as scientific evidence through the experiment.
No, there's no such thing as scientific proof. That is something that does not exist.
So you have none for any of it then?
I have evidence, yes. There's no such thing as scientific proof. In science, proof comes from one thing specifically, and that's the mathematics.
I don't know where to go with this.
It's clear you just don't understand science, but quickly, I would like to go back to the previous point and just share my screen quickly. Abel, calm down. Abel, shh, breathe. Abel, you need to stop. Abel, you need to stop. There's a good. Abel, calm down.
Abel, it's kind of hard to hear you. It's kind of hard to hear you when you're, especially when you guys are both going at the same time.
Yeah, he just won't stop talking.
I'd like to hear what he was.
One second, host. Could you please enable screen sharing so that I can provide a citation for what I'm saying about natural in science, please?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Now I know exactly where you're going with this, and
I'm just going to provide a citation that I'm correct about what natural means in science, and then we can move on from there.
So, Abel, can we go ahead and can we let Fight the Flat Earth do it, make his point, and then we'll stop and give a rebuttal.
So here we go from Berkeley.edu. So an educational source. What is natural in science? And let me quote a specific section. It's here. Within science, the term natural refers to any element of the physical universe, whether made by humans or not. This includes matter. I'm still talking, Abel. This includes. I'm still talking, Abel. I'm so sorry that the middle of my sentence interrupted the beginning of yours.
So when we get, hold on, both of you guys, hold on. So Craig, can you make your point in 2 minutes?
Absolutely. If I can have 2 minutes uninterrupted, that'd be fantastic.
Abel, let's give him 2 minutes to make his point, and then you get take 2 minutes for a rebuttal.
Paragraphs.
Yeah.
Okay. So we are talking about what natural means in science specifically. So I would like to point out that this is that natural means in science according to this citation. Within science, the term natural refers to any element of the physical universe, whether made by humans or not. This includes matter, the forces that act on matter, energy, the constituents of the biological world, humans, human society, and the products of that society. That is what natural means in science. If you have a citation that can go against this, then I request that you now present it, Abel. Otherwise, I'll let you know. I'll let you know when I'm done. If you cannot present a citation that goes against this citation, we are going to go with this definition of what natural means in science moving forward. Okay.
Well, okay. So allow Abel to frame his argument now. I understand where you're coming from, and that's a salient point. And so, Abel,
you want me to take the time right now and look up a different citation and post it? Is that what you're asking?
I would assume, as is your argument, you would have it ready, Abel. So please, over to you.
I don't live this. You told me.
Well, there we go. When we're going to use this as the definition from natural in science moving forward, okay?
I'm speaking. You told me that you did this as a living every day. I don't do that. So I
cool,
don't
sorry, bro.
But if you give me time, I can provide something that tells you completely that the opposite. Saying
no, you can't. There isn't anything. I've checked.
Okay, let's let Abel finish his his position.
Apologies.
Let him respond. Let him respond.
You gave me a pendulum as your phenomenon. That was the best thing that you came up with.
Sorry, we're talking about natural in science right now. Could you respond to that?
Yeah, you gave me a pendulum as your natural occurring phenomenon.
Yes, absolutely. The drift, well, specifically the
motion,
of the swinging.
Let me clarify.
Let me clarify. Specifically, the drift of the swinging pendulum over time.
Okay.
Don't you mean the apparent drift?
No, the actual drift. It physically drifts. Yes, yes. Not only does it drift, this is the thing that can demonstrate that it is, evidence for a fact that the Earth is rotating. But the drift of a swinging pendulum over time correlates exactly to your latitude on Earth, as per the predictions of a rotating globe, following the scientific method. So there we go, Abel.
So can I ask a question, Craig? Can I ask you a question?
Please go ahead.
Hold on.
Abel, I'm sorry. Abel, go ahead and finish. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Abel, can I just say you're quite quiet? Are you able to make yourself a bit louder?
You're still talking.
Yeah, and I'm just saying, could you make yourself a bit louder? You're quite hard to hear.
You have to conjure your phenomenon to show the drift. Yet, where's the drift in our physical reality? Why don't we see
it's there. It happens with a swinging pendulum.
No, we don't see it. Planes don't have crazy flight times. Helicopters hovering.
I haven't talked about planes. I'm talking about a pendulum. Please don't strawman me.
Well, no, you're going with drift.
No, I'm going with the drift of a swinging pendulum specifically. Please don't strawman me and talk about anything else.
We don't see it in the natural world.
Where do we see this drift? In every single experiment ever done with a pendulum.
In our natural world, where do we see this deviation, this drift? Where do we see it?
When a pendulum is swinging over time, it will drift.
The phenomenon.
That's still within the natural world, Abel.
No.
I just gave a citation that says that, so we're going to go with the definition of the citation I said.
So real quick, Abel, since your sound is kind of quiet, but I caught what you said, and so just to, I guess, try to reiterate so I make sure I understand, and for anybody that might listen to this, what your point is the pendulum, the behavior of the pendulum is not proof or disproof of anything. It's the behavior of the pendulum. What you're saying is you have to add that man-made element into it, and it's not something that you naturally see. Is what your point is?
Correct.
Okay. Well, as a rebuttal to that, I will go back to the definition of what natural is in science, and specifically say the constituents of the biological world, humans, human society, and the products of that society. The drift of the swinging pendulum, the experiment that we happen, comes within those definitions. So the drift of a pendulum that is swinging over time falls within the definition of natural within science. Thank you.
Can I ask a question of you regarding that, Craig?
Please go ahead.
So if you had no previous conception of or notion of a rotating Earth, how would you view the drift of the pendulum? If you took that out and you weren't coming to it from that presupposition, how would you view the drift of that pendulum?
Well, it would depend on what my observation and hypothesis was.
Well, as example, I'm sure, are you familiar with Thales and Thales' prediction of the Babylonian eclipse? And he predicted it without knowledge of lunar cycles. Is that something that you have any familiarity with?
No, and I think that's kind of irrelevant to the.
It's not actually irrelevant because he's credited with the first predicted solar eclipse, and he did so without right. But they don't really know how he predicted it. So I guess my question is, if you take the presupposition out, are you able to take the presupposition out and say that you can observe the pendulum swinging? I mean, let me ask you this: was the travel of the Earth proven by the pendulum, or was the pendulum evidence to support the travel of the Earth?
Well, again, science isn't in the business of proving things, so it'd be evidence to support the position. That's why you do the experiment based on your prediction, to try and disprove your hypothesis.
Okay,
course,
so then in the end, it's not actually empirical proof. Well, it's evidence. It's evidence in your bucket. It's evidence that you put in your bucket to support the heliocentric model. I'm not trying to. I'm just trying to clarify. I'm not.
It's empirical evidence to support my position.
In the end, it's a presupposition or a formal logical fallacy.
It's not a formal logical fallacy at all. It literally follows the scientific method.
Sorry, I was speaking. If I lived on a
Go ahead, Abel. Go ahead, Abel. Go ahead.
Yep. Abel, can I just ask, are you able to make yourself a bit louder?
Yeah, Abel, I am with Craig on this. Can you get a little closer to the microphone? Can you get a little closer to your mic so we can hear you better? Because it is when you turn your head, we can't hear you very well.
Basically, in the end, he's left with presuppositions and formal logical fallacies, not scientific evidence. He'll never say he can empirically prove it. Even though we've used that method for
okay, can I respond to that? I think you are misrepresenting what science is. Science absolutely requires you to say the word if. A very important part of science is making an assumption, which is what your hypothesis is. It's an educated guess, but then you have to use that hypothesis to form a prediction that you can test. You have to make assumptions in science. You literally can't do science without making, I'm still talking right now. You literally can't do science without making some kind of assumption, which is what you need a prediction for. You have to say, well, if this is the case, then this is what we expect to happen. Then you have to design an experiment to test that prediction. It is not a logical fallacy to follow the scientific method, unless you are claiming that the scientific method itself is a logical fallacy. Is that your position, Abel?
That's a good straw man, though.
So, well, I think what you're saying is that the swinging pendulum, in the end, it failed to disprove the heliocentric model.
Yeah, it absolutely failed to disprove. If we want to, talk through the basic steps of the scientific method that we learned in high school, of course, anyone that understands science knows that there's more than one version of the scientific method and many different ways of applying the scientific method. But the basic version that we learn in high school is a very good, base to use. So Abel, do you know what the first step of the basic scientific method is?
After the hypothesis, you just
I just want to start at the beginning, Abel. So do you know
the hypothesis phase? Do you just skip over the next phase, or
we're gonna go through it step by step, Abel, if that's okay. So can I ask you, Abel, do you know the first step of the scientific method, the basic one?
Still speaking.
Yeah, I'm asking a question, Abel. So Abel, why do you keep talking over me? I haven't finished. I'm asking a question of you, Abel.
Please stop for a minute.
But I'm asking.
Let's give Abel a minute to take 2 minutes.
With respect, I was in the middle of a thought, and then I was asking him a question, and he completely ignored me. So I'd like to finish that first, if that's okay.
We're about to rewind that one and review that. I don't think so. I was in the middle of a sentence and you jumped in, but that's fine.
No, I was responding to you, and then you kept
talking. Well, can we allow since we gave you 2 minutes to kind of put your point? Can we give Abel a couple minutes to put a point together that we can respond to?
There was a specific question at the end of my point, though.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough. Let's take questions.
If I could reiterate that question, if that's okay.
Abel, is it okay if Craig asks his question?
That's where this conversation needs to go. So I would like to talk through the scientific method.
Now, Craig, can you allow him to answer the question without cutting him off?
Absolutely.
You are pretty eager.
Absolutely. So if I could reiterate my question, because obviously we're talking about the basic version of the scientific method here, which is what I have followed with the pendulum. So Abel, Do you know the
No.
first step of the basic scientific method?
Yeah, and you just failed at it. You had no naturally occurring phenomenon.
That's
You
not the
went-
first step of the scientific
Yes,
method,
it
no,
is.
Abel.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And
No,
you're
the first step is observation, Abel. You have to observe
Well,
something.
you guys are arguing semantics. Abel is absolutely saying that there was no observable motion of the Earth before you did the experiment. I think that's what he's saying. That's absolutely what he's
Okay,
saying.
so he's straw manning science, right? Okay, that's fine.
I'm not straw manning science.
So
I'm going to be. Let's let Abel.
So the first step is the observation, right? So any observation. For me, an observation is that I have traveled all over the world and I noticed that the stars in the northern hemisphere rotate clockwise and the stars in the southern hemisphere rotate counterclockwise. That is my observation. All right. Can we all agree here that that is indeed an observation?
Sure, absolutely.
Abel, do you agree that that is an observation?
If we're moving away from the pendulum,
No,
sure.
well, we're starting at the beginning,
Sure.
right? Do you
Sure.
agree that is an observation, yes or no?
That's an observation, yeah.
Okay, excellent. So that's step one of the scientific method. Do we agree?
We moved away from the pendulum.
No,
yes.
we're still talking about the pendulum, but that is step one of the scientific method. Observation. Do we agree? I've made an observation.
No. You're.
I'm sorry. Did you not just agree that I'd made an observation?
Greg, you're really not letting him finish there. Can you let him finish?
Yeah,
please.
You have to let
Thank
me
you.
speak.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
observing something doesn't qualify. Go observe a rock. You need a phenomenon. If steam is coming off of that rock,
Let him finish.
You've got a phenomenon. But just looking up at something, you can still form a guess, but you have no naturally occurring phenomenon. You can look up and see the different rotations if that's what you're claiming or what you're saying, which I wouldn't disagree with.
But that's what I saw then. That is literally all I've said. That my observation is simply in the northern hemisphere, stars rotate clockwise. In the southern hemisphere, stars rotate counterclockwise. And we've all agreed that that's an observation. Yes.
It's a presupposition again.
Well, no, it's not. In what way is it a presupposition? It's literally something I've observed. I haven't said that. Don't put words in my mouth.
Well, that's basically what you're saying.
No, it's not. I've made an. When in my observation did I say that? I said in the north something happens and in the south something happens. That's all I've said.
Sure, I agree with that.
Right, so we've done step one of the scientific method. I have made an observation of a natural phenomenon. Yes.
How do you validate the cause of the effect?
You don't need to do that with an observation. That comes later with like the hypothesis and the experiment. So do we all agree that I have done step one of the scientific method? Make an observation. Yes.
Of a natural phenomenon, I would agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So step two of the scientific method. Abel, what is step two of the scientific method?
Okay, and now I'm going to be playing his answer games. Let me get a list going for you. Form a hypothesis.
Excellent. So step two of the scientific method, we can all agree, is form a hypothesis based on the observation that you have made. Is that correct?
Step three.
Wait, we're going to do step two first.
Oh, you just said correct.
Yeah. So now we've done my observation, right? And now we've agreed what step two is, form a hypothesis based on your observation. So we're going to do that, okay?
Now
My hypothesis, no, I'm doing the second step. I'm forming a hypothesis based on my observation. Can we do that before we move on to step three? Is that all right?
Sure. I wonder what it could be.
Right. So my hypothesis, my educated guess, which is what the hypothesis is the reason I see the counter-rotating stars in different parts of the Earth is that we are on a rotating spherical body. That is my hypothesis. Okay? And that is a hypothesis that relates directly to the observation that I have made. Do we all agree that is the case?
That's your hypothesis.
Yeah, well done. Absolutely. It's my hypothesis. You have agreed with me that is my hypothesis. Moderator, do you agree that I have made a hypothesis?
I agree that you've made a hypothesis upon what you have seen with your perception. Yes.
Excellent. Right. So, Abel, what is step three of the scientific method?
I'm not really required.
This is getting a little demeaning. I would like to hear Abel bring up some evidence.
This is all leading towards the pendulum, and I think it's very important that we do this through until the end. I'm not meaning to be demeaning. I am just walking through the steps of Abel so that we can all agree on every step along the way. Okay, so we've all agreed. We've all agreed what step one is.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing about the hypothesis, though, that I would like to add. It's not scientific if the hypothesis is not testable.
Well, that's absolutely, and that's why I want to find out what step 3 of the scientific method is. David, do you know what step 3 is?
That's why he's saying science doesn't prove things. Okay.
Please don't strawman me. Right? Like, do you know step 3 of the scientific method after the hypothesis?
Really?
Yeah, I'm genuinely asking you. I'm trying to find out. Do you know what step after the hypothesis is?
Okay, the experimental.
Wrong. Step after the hypothesis is prediction.
It's actually part of your hypothesis, but now you're getting
incorrect. Hypothesis and prediction are separate things. No. Sorry, I'm sorry. Hypothesis and prediction are different things. You form a prediction based on your hypothesis. If my hypothesis is true, then this will happen. That is the third step of the scientific method. You form a prediction based on your hypothesis. So I am going to form a prediction based on my hypothesis. If the Earth is a rotating sphere with the circumference that we suggest at 15 degrees per hour, then there will be predictable forces applied to a swinging pendulum depending on the latitude. And using Foucault's sine law, you will be able to precisely calculate your latitude based on the degree of drift of a swinging pendulum. That is a prediction that is testable based on my hypothesis from my observation. I have followed the steps of the scientific method. The next step after prediction, Abel, is what you just said, experiment. The experiment is any Foucault's pendulum. And I can cite 36 different Foucault's pendulum experiments that do not have any magnetic boosting or anything all around the world that match the predictions of the hypothesis. So the step after the experiment is analyze. You analyze the data that you have. And if you do the Foucault's experiment anywhere on Earth, you can use the drift to calculate your latitude based on the drift. That follows the scientific method and fails to disprove that the Earth is a rotating sphere.
Wow. Moderator, do you see anything? I'll just take that off. Not only that, biggest presupposition and formological fallacy, you're just not getting it.
Which part of it was a logical fallacy?
If I lived on a ball, I would see this.
You have to say if. That's a very important part of the scientific method. The scientific method is not a logical fallacy.
What you said was definitely not proof or scientific evidence. That's just
it was absolutely scientific method following the Abel, it was literally evidence following the scientific method, step by step, with an IV and a DV for the experimental phase.
I think what Abel is trying to say here, which I'm going to keep my opinion obviously to myself as much as possible, but I do happen to agree with, and you agree with that too, that in and of itself it just fails to disprove, like you just said, what he's saying, what you're saying here is with the scientific method in and of itself, one of the things that could potentially be a fallacy of it is that you are forced to create a presupposition before you do an experiment, and then that's what you just said, and you just justified the presupposition as you have to have a hypothesis based on observation. But there's a lot of other things that can be observed and tested and failed to be disproven as well. And so that's where people start to run into I think some issues with pendulum as proof of anything, because it's like you said, it's not proof of anything. It just fails to disprove something, and it's repeated over and over and over again. So what it does,
which is a very important part of science, right? Being repeatable. Something has to be repeatable, and this is an experiment that can be repeated anywhere on the planet.
I would love to talk with you too one-on-one sometime, because I can cite a bunch of experiments that have not been repeated, and that I think should be.
Actually, you sound a little more knowledgeable about the subject than I am. See, I'm just very careful not to make any claims about knowing the shape of the Earth. I don't know the shape.
Well, you made a claim that you're a scientist. That was a lie, wasn't it?
Say that again?
You made a claim that you're a scientist. That was a lie, wasn't it?
A scientist.
I didn't hear him make that claim. Can we let?
I've got the screenshot of him saying he was a scientist.
No. This is his gotcha moment. Let him enjoy it.
No, okay. I'm just wondering why you did that lie. To be honest,
where do you think I'm going to go with this?
I'm just wondering why you lied.
I would like to. Can we take the personal stuff? Let's take the personal stuff for later. I would like to. You've kind of dominated. You've made some good points. It's very intriguing. You present very well, and I appreciate everything you're bringing. But you've also kind of dominated the whole thing. I would like to give the floor to Abel for a little bit.
Yeah, sure. I like to hear Dirk. I really do enjoy hearing Dirk.
Do you have the screenshot lower also that says if you follow the scientific method, you can conduct science too? You're not getting that little whole thing, or you're just going to try to smear me?
Doesn't make you a scientist, though, Abel.
You can conduct science and become a scientist if you follow the scientific method. Yes, it does.
No, you are not a scientist. That is a qualification. You are not qualified to be a scientist.
Something from college. I'm not talking about that, obviously. If you would have posted the screenshot.
So what you mean to say is amateur scientist, right?
Hold on. That would have a little bit more honest if you would have just scrolled up and took that screenshot, instead of having me repeat it here.
Well, it was the actual main post. I'm a scientist, but
you're not giving me a full range.
Sorry, all right, I will be quiet now. I just like to point out all the lies that you make.
In the end, what you have are a lot of observations. You gave me tides, sunsets, star rotation. Every single thing with your model has to be imagined. I have to imagine that the stars are beneath my feet. I have to imagine gas pressure without a container in your model.
That's a straw man. Please don't straw man me.
I'm still speaking. You have to
just don't straw man me though, okay? That's fine. Just don't straw man me.
Imagine everything. It requires your imagination.
Incorrect.
You have to imagine trillions of metric tons of water just clinging to the ball. Everything is imagined. Why can't we just show something? That's it.
I literally just talked you through an experiment that shows you something.
No, that wasn't proof. You're just pointing at the sky and saying, look, if I see this, I would live on a ball. I see that, I must live on a ball.
Oh, you must have missed the rest where we did the hypothesis, prediction, experiment, and analysis, of course. This is what we call the Flerf reset.
Insult time.
No, there's no insult. I'm sorry, let me clarify. There is no insults there. That is a description.
It's ad hominem, and it's ad hominem, and we can have it.
It's not ad hominem.
It's absolutely ad hominem.
It's a description of what's happening. It's when a flat earther ignores all the evidence that's been presented and then just resets back.
But you know, okay, but you keep reframing the conversation every time he speaks, and. I don't think you need to do that because I think you have good information that could stand on its own.
I would request though that Abel doesn't strawman me by saying silly things like gas pressure without a container. I mean, he's bringing up examples. I mean, it's up to you if you take that personal. But he's bringing up examples, and the example he brought up was sort of entropy, a piece of entropy, when he's talking about, being in a pressurized environment. Now, I would say that the explanation of space has changed quite a bit, going from being a vacuum to no one ever
not really being a vacuum. It's just like a pressure gradient instead.
Yeah, with respect, moderator, no one ever said space was a perfect vacuum. That has never been the claim.
Hold on. My point is, everything, you can't demonstrate your model.
Yes, we can. Absolutely. 100%.
Everything I've mentioned, you can't show me a pressurized system without a container.
That's a straw man. So why would I show you a straw man?
Clinging to a ball.
Right.
Water.
Abel, can we concentrate on that pressurized thing about a container, straw man, that you keep going on about? Why do you keep bringing up a straw man?
No, I pointed out that your model cannot be demonstrated.
Our model doesn't have a pressurized thing without a container. That's not what our model has. You are making a straw man of our model.
Well, how do you have air pressure?
We have gravity that makes a pressure gradient.
Gravity. See, there's another claim.
Yeah, I've measured. I've actually measured gravity myself, so it's fine. But
tell me
to
how you
be clear,
validated the claim.
to be
Tell me
clear,
how you validated your claim that gravity.
Before we do that, I just want to be clear on something, Abel. That the claim of a pressurized system next to a vacuum is a straw man because that is not the globe claim. Okay.
So you want to define pressure differently than its actual definition with the word
no,
press.
I don't. I want to talk about what we actually have, which is a layer of pressure next to a slightly lower layer of pressure, next to a slightly lower layer of pressure, next to a slightly lower of pressure, next to a slightly lower layer of pressure, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on. At no point is there a pressurized system next to a vacuum without a container. That is a straw man.
That's a claim you've just made. Now validate your claim. Tell me how gravity
validate the claim that we have a pressure gradient. Cool. I've climbed several mountains and the pressure was less.
Yes, validate the claim you made about gravity pulling the atmosphere in so it doesn't escape into the vacuum.
Absolutely. I've done that by performing the Cavendish experiment, proving that mass attracts mass with the proportions of Fg equals gm1m2 over r squared.
What was the observed phenomenon there?
In the Cavendish experiment?
Yeah.
The actual movement of the torsion bar, creating torque on the wire.
The torsion bars he created?
Again, natural, everything
Man-made.
in the world.
Again, man-made.
Yeah, do I have to provide my citation again that stops this nonsense?
You've conjured the phenomenon again.
Yeah, that's not how it works. Please stop straw manning science.
You're not letting me speak again.
Yes, I'll let you speak when you stop straw manning.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. Every time you disagree with him, you interrupt him, and he.
Well, I would just love to present an argument that isn't a straw man. Is it possible, Abel, for you to present an argument that isn't a straw man?
Again, you gave me a man-made phenomenon to back up your claim.
Do I need to put my? I don't know. You might have a short memory, so let me just share my citation again. Within science, the term natural refers to any element of the physical universe, whether made by humans or not. This includes matter, the forces that act on matter, energy, the constituents of the biological world, humans, human society, and the products of that society. Do you have maybe there was an injury when you were young that stops the conversion of short-term to long-term memory? I'm not sure.
Moderator? Did you just mute the moderator?
How would I mute the moderator?
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
No, I'm here. Yeah.
Goodness me. Yeah, so please stop straw manning what natural means in science.
No, I'm just pointing out that you can't demonstrate your model, and you
absolutely can.
Really?
Yeah, 100%.
You just failed.
No, I've literally shown two experiments that demonstrate what our model claims to be.
So let me ask: do we want to move on to? Because I mean, you gave good points. Do we want to move on? Abel, can you move on and bring up some observations that support your side, and let's move on to there. Craig,
he doesn't make claims. He refuses to make a claim.
Hang on. Let it. No, that's let him do it. Let him bring up his observations here.
When I asked him about, or when I explained to him that he couldn't demonstrate his model, with everything I was saying, whether it's
just a lie,
pressure, all you did to rebut it was make a claim.
Which claim did I make?
You said the gravity is sucking the atmosphere back to the Earth.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can demonstrate this as the fact using the Cavendish experiment.
Yes, and you said the Cavendish, and when I asked you what the phenomenon was, you told me he made the torsion bar.
I mean, if the observable phenomenon is the fact we have a pressure gradient, right? Can we all agree that that's an observable phenomenon? There is a pressure gradient in our atmosphere. Do we all agree with that? Yes?
Sure.
Excellent, right? So the hypothesis for that would be what?
Hold on. Why are you asking me a question when I asked you about him conjuring the phenomenon again?
I'm not conjuring any phenomenon. I'm following the scientific method.
No.
Which you seem terrified of, Abel.
No.
I mean, you don't even know the steps of it, to be sure.
Your phenomenon was an experiment how many years ago? How many?
Well, I did the experiment myself about 15 years ago.
Cavendish. When did he see these two masses attracting each other?
The original Cavendish experiment. It's been performed millions of times since then.
Right. And what was the original purpose of the experiment?
I mean, that's irrelevant. What I use it for is different.
It's irrelevant?
Yeah, yeah.
I
am not Lord Henry Cavendish. I use that specific equipment to do something different to what Cavendish did.
You're citing that as your evidence, yet
I'm citing the Cavendish experiment itself and the results that come from it.
You can't get the statement out without interruption. So once again,
I'm responding to you.
A man-made phenomenon once again.
Yeah, and that's not a problem. It's not a problem that it's man-made.
Okay, it's not a problem for you.
No, it's not a problem in science.
Okay.
Yeah, the smug laugh of not knowing what the fuck you're on about.
Oh, now he's cursing.
I'm sorry, but fuck is an amazing word. Please don't be offended by the best word in the English language. Do you know it's the only word that's an adjective, a noun, and a verb? Seriously, it's the only word that's an objective, a noun, and a verb. Like the sentence, fuck you, you fucking fuck, makes sense. Do you not think that's amazing?
Still going on.
That's a fucking amazing point. That's a fucking phenomenal point. I'm with you on that. But I do have to say that I understand what Abel is saying, and I do agree with him. And the point that he's making is that literally, I mean, and you said this to yourself that it proves nothing. It just fails to disprove things. And you know, I mean, have you considered other actual actions that could be making this up? Because one of the issues that I actually think, and I asked you about, you know, when I brought up Thales, and I think that it might, you know, it would probably illuminate you a little further if you actually did some independent research on Thales and looked at how he is handled from as objective as a point of view as you can.
I mean, I love to I definitely will.
I'm not trying to be combative or argumentative.
No, absolutely not. And if I can give my email, could you send me any information you have on that?
Because, yeah, absolutely. Put your email in the chat here, and we'll connect. But
I try to live my life by the philosophy of learn something new every day. And that's very interesting, and I'd like to learn about that.
So put your email in the chat here, and
I guess Abel forgets something new every day, but you know.
Hold on, see that was a little jab, unnecessary again.
Hey, it's fun. Chill the fuck out, man.
Calm down. You called me a flat. What was it? Flat something earlier, and right before that,
Flerf.
Right before that, I explained to you that I honestly don't know the shape of the Earth, and yet you continue with the name.
That's why the term Flerf isn't just for flat earthers, like people that like say the Earth is flat. The term Flerf is for general science deniers.
And the reason why I've never joined you was this attitude you have right now.
I don't have an attitude.
Horrible. It's horrible. And when I listened to that first debate with your protege, that was a terrible debate. And you
protege? I don't who's my protege?
I don't know. You said you coached him on the debate.
Oh, you mean Professor Dave? Yeah. Where he absolutely destroyed every single lie that Dave Weiss brought up. Yeah.
You were proud of that performance.
Well, he did excellently. Yes, he shut down all of the lies that were said. He stopped David Weiss going off on random tangents. He kept him to one point at a time. He succinctly rebutted every single point that David Weiss brought up. He didn't insult first. David Weiss 11 times during that debate called Professor Dave a dick. Professor Dave only ever responded to the attitude that was given to him from David Weiss. Obviously, you suffered.
Well, you know what? I had one experience with. I will say this: I had one experience with Professor Dave where I actually asked a sincere question, and he told me to sit down and shut the fuck up. And it was just a question. And you know, I mean, I don't know what had triggered him about it. My specific question was actually, I think it was about the Mercator projection. Or, you know, a sextant, something, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it wasn't intended to be inflammatory or anything like that. It was just his response. And so that's my experience with him. And so at that point, when someone does that, I don't have a lot of credibility for him.
But in that debate with David Weiss, the only thing Professor Dave did was respond to what David Weiss did, which was lie, straw man, misrepresent, and call Professor Dave a dick several times. So I think Professor Dave not only kept his calm most excellently and shut down the lies, but scientifically absolutely demolished David Weiss. It was fantastic. He did very well.
What's your opinion, moderator? You said you happened to see that one?
I did. You really want to know my opinion? I think you're both wrong, actually.
I respect it.
But I don't think. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I absolutely 100% see the heliocentric model as a absolute presupposition, and and everything that I see given to it shuts down any other idea. And then we hear things like standing on the giants of those who came before from, Sir Isaac Newton and stuff like that. And you also hear that when it comes to journalism, trying to, and it's an entire institution. And you even said it yourself earlier. You said, "Oh, you're an amateur scientist. You haven't been okayed by these institutions to use your brain." Is essentially what you said. Well, until you agree with the presupposition, then everything you say is bullshit. That's absolutely. Hang on, let me finish. Now, that's absolutely what you're saying. Absolutely what you're saying. Now, the other thing with that too.
Can I just respond to that first, because it's not quite what I'm saying, right?
Okay.
When I say that, what I mean is that he hasn't been given the tools to be able to be a scientist. To be able to be a scientist, you have to.
That's exactly what we're saying. We're arguing semantics. We're arguing semantics.
Yeah, it's like when I say that I've been to university and got my 2 degrees, people say, "Oh, you just copied from books, blah blah blah," and but I didn't. I was given tools to figure things out myself.
So were you given the tools to be able to take away all your presuppositions and go and observe from a natural, objective point of view?
Well, that's where everything starts. You observed
the pendulum from a point of view of, I don't know what's causing this, but something's causing it to move.
The pendulum was a result of an observation. I didn't just come across the pendulum in nature.
I get that. I get what you're saying.
I saw in nature.
I get what you're saying, and you also brought up the northern and the southern hemisphere, and I haven't touched that yet because that's something that actually I don't know anything about.
Hemisphere. I just said north and south. I didn't say.
Well, you said northern and southern hemisphere. You said it like twice. And I don't know anything about star patterns in other than what I see here in the middle of the United States. And that's what I know, and that's what I can observe. Yeah. And so, and now I can definitely go out and research and get more information on that. And I'm actually going to. I'm glad you brought that up, because it was an interesting thing. But you did say northern and southern hemisphere. You are coming at this from an absolute presupposition. Now absolutely, Abel is as well. I mean, we all have our own presuppositions, but there are other observable things that don't necessarily that we can look at. Now, as far as the Cavendish experiment, you said it's been redone millions of times. I'm not actually sure that's accurate.
No, it's literally done all the time it's like every first year physics student does it. I've got 2 of my close friends on YouTube, both Blue Marble Science and BM Furball, built their own Cavendish experiments and documented the entire process. When I did my physics degree, me and the other 12 students in my course, we all built our own individual Cavendish experiments. It's something that's literally repeated millions of times.
That's fantastic. And so you're saying that empirically there's nothing else that could cause that phenomenon other than gravity.
Well, let me explain. When my initial physics course did it, we were actually posited the same question, right? So this experiment is normally done to kind of test gravity. How can you remove other factors from it? So we thought, what could the other factors be? Well, maybe there's some kind of electromagnetic interference. So what could we do to eliminate that? Well, out of the 12 groups doing the experiment, let's all make it out of different materials and compare the results. If the results are the same with the different materials, that eliminates the possibility of it being electromagnetic. Could it be from something to do with the atmosphere, blah, blah?
Okay, back up. Slow down again. So explain that one more time, because that's interesting. What eliminates the possibility of it being electromagnetic, and why would electromagnetism be? I mean,
it's another force that exists in nature. We thought, well, that could be a possible cause for the results that you tend to see with the Cavendish experiment. So, electromagnetic properties will react specifically to materials. So, if something's got
how was the Earth removed from this experiment?
But my point is, I think the electromagnetism thing,
Abel just totally cut in with an irrelevant question there. So let me finish explaining about the electromagnetic thing. So if the cause of what you see was electromagnetic interference of any kind, then it would react differently to different materials. Obviously, wood would react differently to an electromagnetic field than a metal would. So we had different people make the masses at the end of the torsion bars and the masses that you introduce out of different materials. Okay. And we still all got the same results, which eliminated it being electromagnetic interference. We also did it in different environments, in enclosed boxes in different rooms. One was done in a chiller, one was done in a hot room, to see if there was any atmospheric differences that could cause it. And again, we still got the same results, removing those other things. So, as part of the process, we eliminated other factors that it could be.
Okay. Which experiment excluded the Earth's interaction with the experiment?
So the experiment itself is designed to eliminate the Earth, because the experiment measures gravitational attraction on a horizontal plane. The gravitational influence of the Earth will act on the entire apparatus pulling downwards, but the apparatus shows a gravitational influence horizontally. So the entire thing is being pulled down at the same time. But let me finish. Right. So the entire thing is being pulled down, which eliminates that being the cause of it being a horizontal influence.
So what's the source of all matter? What's
the source of all matter?
Yeah. What's the substrate?
Are we talking about Einstein's equivalence principle here?
I'm just asking you a question. I just what's the substrate? Yeah.
Well, mass energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. So
how do you actually successfully
a lot of energy equals a little bit of mass?
So how would somebody actually ever eliminate the Earth from an experiment?
Exactly.
By having the influence of the Earth, which is the entire apparatus having a acceleration downwards 9.8 meters per second squared uniformly across it. But we are testing the gravitational influence in a different direction, which eliminates the Earth pulling downwards being the cause of the horizontal influence.
And I'm not trying to get too far off of my moderator position here. That's why I'm trying to ask questions as just open and neutral as possible.
What was your test radius? How far of radius did you go out to determine your effect?
Again, there was
5 miles.
Again, let me answer the question. The different groups in my course had different distances between the masses, had different size Cavendish experiments. So that the R squared, which shows the gravitational force being inversely proportional to the square of the distance between the masses, would be different depending on how far away from the center of masses each of them were. So we changed the size of the entire experiments between the groups, changing that R squared variable.
Where did you get the R?
The R squared is the distance between the two masses. Don't get excited because I've said R.
So you've attributed this to gravity, right?
Yes. That's the hypothesis that we tested, yes.
So again, this phenomenon was conjured in a barn or something hundreds of years ago? The Cavendish experiment, how many years ago?
Again, that when Lord Cavendish did it is relevant. I've done it myself.
How many would you say?
I don't know, a couple of hundred.
How many witnesses were there?
I don't know. Lord Henry Cavendish was batshit crazy. He didn't like people being around. In fact, interesting little side note about Lord Henry Cavendish. He was so crazy, right, that he actually had a separate staircase built for him because he was so afraid of bumping into the staff in his estate. He was absolutely fucking mental.
Incredible. Wow. That really proves the mass of the Earth.
No, I know. It's just an interesting side fact about Cavendish.
It's actually pretty funny. That's what.
But again, so if you want to go through step by step, I can do observation, hypothesis, prediction, experiment.
Do you believe that man was able to calculate the mass of the Earth from that experiment?
I mean, we have the scientific evidence and the mathematical proof for it. Yes.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Personal incredulity is not, evidence against something. Abel, you do know that, right?
I think it was interesting. I'm not calling you names, am I?
No, where did I say names? I just told you that personal incredulity isn't something. I'm
pointing out that you call names, and
when did I call a name? I just said personal incredulity isn't.
What did you call me? A flerf or something? You've called me.
Yeah, you definitely are a flerf. You're a science denier.
There you go.
Oh, sorry, you're confused. That's not calling you a name. It's a description. Don't get them confused. I'm not insulting you. I'm describing you. They're very different things. I mean, I think, Abel, with respect, all of your problems come from not understanding anything about science and partly listening to far too much Nathan Oakley.
Who?
He's brainwashed you.
No, hang on. I get that a lot, where you say don't strawman me, and then you just turn around and do the same thing. All right.
I mean, I know you
don't know that Abel listens to Nathan Oakley.
He's told me several times he does.
Oh, well, I don't know who that is. So
yeah.
Well, he must have the screenshot. You've done the research. Put up the screenshot. The point is this: you've given me a lot of observations and presuppositions. In the end, you've provided nothing. All you're doing is making.
That's a lie.
You're just claiming gravity that holds in the atmosphere with.
Yeah, and I explained the experiment that demonstrates what we claim to be true.
The man-made conjured effect, right?
I'm sorry. I forget that you have a short-term memory. So let me just share this once more for you.
You're just not able to.
So within science, the term natural refers to any element of the physical universe, whether made by humans or not. This includes matter, the forces that act on matter, energy, the constituents of the biological world, humans, human society, and the products of that society. I know you keep forgetting that, Abel. So you have to keep going back to your straw man definition of natural within science. But if we could stick to the actual definition of natural within science, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
I don't know where to go with him. He's just, I don't know. He's just claiming, and he doesn't seem to get it.
Oh, no. I've demonstrated what I said to be true by telling you about the experiments. I can also provide details of the experiments.
No, he's given me man-made phenomenons. He's given me star trails.
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I need to share it once more. I don't know why you keep... So within science, the term natural refers to any element of the physical universe, whether made by humans or not. This includes matter, the forces that act on matter, energy, the constituent biological world, humans, human society, and the products of that society. So every time you say he's given me a man-made phenomenon, shows that you don't understand what natural means in science.
Okay, good for you. If that's what you believe, then...
No, the beliefs are relevant. I've just shown you the evidence that what I say is to be true.
No, you've given me a lot of presuppositions, you've given a lot of pointing, a lot of claims, but
did you know, Abel, that the Nile is also a river in Egypt?
Humor? I don't know.
No, I'm pretty sure you don't know humor requires a modicum of intelligence.
Doesn't that the Suez Canal run through there? Are you going to tell me that has channels and locks? I thought that was more than 100 miles.
Did you know that sea level is different at either side of the Suez Canal?
Different now.
Yeah. Sea level is actually, about 0.3 of a meter higher one side of the Suez Canal compared to the other. Interesting, that, isn't it?
How many?
Yeah, about 0.3 of a meter.
I'd have to look into that.
Yeah, you do that. Interesting, that, isn't it? That it's not the same either side.
What else? What else do you need? I don't think we're getting anywhere here.
We've definitely got somewhere, Abel. We have demonstrated conclusively that you don't know anything.
Well, okay. Hold on. Now, hey, Abel. I guess we are kind of going along. Would you like to provide? Do you have evidence that you want to provide? Do you have observations that you want to provide and discuss because we're not gonna what we're not gonna do is we're gonna have to just agree to disagree. I'm on your side with this. I agree that it's a presupposition, and that's where it's coming from. And Craig's not going to agree with that, so we're just going to have to leave that be.
We did all agree. All of us agreed that I followed each step of the scientific method. We all agreed each step along the way. I guess we have to come to the conclusion that wait, hold on. I guess we have to come to the conclusion that the scientific method is a presupposition, right?
Well, let me ask you, have you actually had an observation that is independent and performed the entire scientific method and gathered data on something that you didn't know how it would end when you started, or because otherwise it's like you're kind of like playing with a tea set. So that's what I'm asking. Have you gone out and said, okay, I've observed something that's new. Let me throw my own hypothesis on it and go test it.
So to answer your question, I have not made any scientific discoveries myself. No.
Okay, so everything Everything that you've demonstrated has already been decided before you started and went through the demonstration.
I'm following one of the tenets of science for it to be repeatable,
you followed the experiments that were done before, so you've done no new experiments or anything like that. And it's not a trick question. It's not a trap question. I'm just trying to establish.
I put my own twists on the experiment, changing the materials used and things like that. Okay. But again, I have not made any scientific discoveries myself. Instead, what I've done is verified what I understand about science to be true by repeating experiments and getting the results.
Fair enough, and there's no and I'm not saying that there's an issue or a fallacy in that. I mean that's fair enough. That's fine. But what I think what I'm saying is that's where we're not gonna agree on that, because I do happen to agree with Abel a little bit. Well, I do happen to agree with him, and you're not gonna you're not going to say it. You're not going to agree with it, and that's very clear. That you already knew how they would all work out when you started. That's a presupposition, and you can call it an observation if you want, but you yourself just admitted that you haven't made an independent observation and tested it to make a discovery.
I mean, I've made independent observations. I've independently observed things myself, and then I've followed the scientific methods to, try and figure out what that is, to make a hypothesis, to form a prediction from that hypothesis. Just because I used a method that's been used before.
Well, I didn't. No. I'm not talking about the steps of the scientific method in and of itself. I'm talking about using experiments that have been done before and things like that, which obviously repeating the experiment is part of the scientific method. But then that also causes another problem in and of itself, which it eliminates any outside or other ideas, and everything needs to be peer reviewed and agreed upon, and it has to be consensus before, and then when we turn around and we start calling people names and things like that, from an independent observer view, the optics are really bad, the optics are really bad because basically
science doesn't care about the optics.
Well, I understand science. I understand that
or not.
Yeah, I understand that science doesn't care about the optics. That's not at all what I said. What I absolutely said is the entire discussion is, if you don't agree with me, you're stupid. And now I'm going to tell you.
No, that's not true. No. When I call someone stupid, it's because they are willfully ignorant. All right, I don't just say you don't agree with me, therefore you're stupid. That's not what I do ever. I pick apart the reasons why someone is stupid and explain to them that this is how it is. If you want to, get some knowledge, this is the knowledge that you need to get. This is where to get the information. This is how you can test it yourself. But if that person then continues to be willfully ignorant, to purposely ignore all the evidence and ignore how science works and be willfully ignorant, then I'm going to call them stupid, because then they are being fucking stupid.
So can I ask you this question? Would you say that there is zero possibility that any of the heliocentric information is incorrect?
No, science never claims to know everything.
Okay.
I mean, that's one thing that needs to be understood. Science is never complete. And, the heliocentric model, that's not really the words for it, but, that's what the heliocentric model is. That's what we want to call it. It is the best.
What is the word for it?
There's a specific number and identification for the specific model that we use that I don't know off by heart, but heliocentric model is kind of a term that's been brought up by flat earthers. It's not really the correct term for it, but it's what we use. It's okay. But the heliocentric model itself is our best understanding at the moment. It works. It makes predictions, right? We can use it to literally predict every observable phenomenon known to man.
That the ancients have been able to do the same thing regarding eclipses?
Incorrect. They have not been able to accurately predict eclipses to the millisecond and the position to the millimeter. They have never been able to do that.
You want it to the millisecond. I'm sorry.
Yes, we can do that with a heliocentric model.
I didn't realize it was to the millisecond.
Yeah, because that's what being accurate is all about. It's quite easy to. It's quite easy. Hold on, Abel. It's quite easy to look at cycles.
Them accurately without your model.
They didn't predict them accurately. They predicted them approximately. So it's very, very easy to look at cycles and go, well, this keeps happening. But with our model, we can actually go, well, based on the, movement of celestial bodies, we say that this thing will happen at this specific time because of all this is happening. We can give an explanation behind it all, and we can predict it down to the exact millisecond, and we can show you where the shadows are going to be down to the fucking millimeter. That has never been able to be done by ancients, and to claim it is or has is a lie.
Well, I guess you were there. You would know, right?
No, I've researched, and there is no ancient predictions.
And it didn't exist, right?
Well, if you're just claiming it exists without any evidence, then I can just say any claim made without evidence can also be dismissed without evidence.
So again, because they weren't down to the millisecond.
Yeah, I can do it down to the millisecond because that's what our model is able to do.
Okay.
There isn't a better explanation of the world.
I'd love to find out what your whole thoughts are on the moonlight with its cold properties. Where are you on that?
Cold moonlight is a violation of the second law of thermodynamics.
Experiment. Have you done any experiments?
Yes, actually I did. I did a month-long experiment to respond to Howard George Stirrup. I tested that claim myself over an entire month.
Can you post a link for me?
It's all in my Discord server.
Discord server. How would I get to that? I'm not familiar with that.
You would download Discord, sign up, and go to the section in my Discord server that says Howard's called Moonlight Experiments. So let me explain to you what I did. Right, Howard's claim was that cold moonlight will, but what he claimed that moonlight was cold and it would chill a glass of water left out. Okay, so I tested this. Right, so I got a table and I put it out in my front garden. Right, and I had a glass on top of the table and a glass underneath of the table. So the moonlight would be able to be on one, but obviously the one on the floor underneath the table was in the moon shade. The claim was that the one in the moonlight would get colder and the one in the moon shade would stay the same. Now, this is actually what we expect to do because of radiating cooling, right? So what I did was over an entire month, I did the same thing. And there was days where the moon was in the sky. There was days where the moon wasn't in the sky, went through all the different phases of the moon. And what I found was even though the one on the top of the table did tend to be cooler, that phenomenon happened even when the moon was not in the sky and regardless of the phase of the moon. And that is because of something called radiative cooling. If something has something above it, it will not cool down as quickly because the heat cannot escape as much. So anything that is in the moon shade cannot release its heat as quick as something that is in the open air or the moonlight. Moonlight is not cold. If it was, on the days that the moon was out, there would have been a noticeable difference in the decrease of the water compared to the days that the moonlight was not out.
Have you ever thought about actually pointing your telescope directly at the moon? And
several times I've done that, yes. Reading
a temperature on the, what do you have, a refractor or reflector?
Well, my daughter's got a telescope, but we've done. I've got friends that have done infrared tests on the moon and stuff, and the moon is not colder.
Just asking if it's a reflecting or a refracting. Which one?
Honestly, it's just a kid's telescope.
Okay, so then you couldn't have possibly measured the mirror. What you need to do is point it at a full moon, because this way you're not getting any radiant heat from the ground or a glass of water or the cup or your hand. But what I did with my 16-inch refractor right there, it's buried in some trash. But anyway, what I did was I pointed my telescope directly at the moon, and then I got my laser thermometer and shot it at the mirror. And every single time it was at least 6-7 degrees colder than when I turned the mirror, when I turned the mirror away, shot the light again, hotter, and I did that over and over. I've also used chunks of aluminum that didn't have the effect that you had, and I did that at least 6 different times. So what I'm asking
do you not see the problem with pointing an IR thermometer at a mirror?
No, because that difference would also show on the higher temperature.
You don't see the problem with doing that.
The temperature would also show
Right.
on the.
Okay, no, that's fine. If you don't see the problem with doing that,
I
that's
just
fine.
told you. Hold on, I'm telling you. If you're going to account for that variance, then it'll also account for the higher temperature. And still, I had a 7 to 8 degrees difference. How would you explain that?
I would suggest it would be because of the amount of light being able to escape from the telescope itself, or the radiant heat around it, or several different reasons. But again, do you understand? This is a very important point, Abel. Do you understand that cold light is a violation of the second law of thermodynamics? Do you understand that point?
Yeah, that's why this is so incredible, because it violates that, and it proves that it's not a reflection. It's producing its own light.
Well,
now,
no, it is a reflection, because we can actually measure the ambient light from it. So
right.
It's about 2% of ambient light from the sun.
You didn't measure it. I asked you how you measured it.
Yeah, I've tested the theory of if moonlight is cold, and it is not.
I asked you if you measured the back of the telescope's temperature.
Yeah, and I said no, I haven't. But again, I have tested the theory if moonlight is cold, and it is not. Because light itself cannot be cold, because that violates the second law of thermodynamics.
Yeah, but what you described was completely different what I just told you. With your glasses of water, no, nothing close to directly what I did. So I'm asking.
So if moonlight was cold, then I would have experienced different results to what I got. I didn't, therefore moonlight is not cold.
See, I did the experiment and came up with the opposite. I pointed my telescope directly at the moon, a full moon, and measured the mirror, and the temperature was always lower. And I did that on maybe 6 different full moons. And then I turned the telescope a fraction of an inch just to get it out of the view of the telescope, and I'd shoot the same within a second or two. And the temperature.
Do you have all the data and videos for this?
Have either of you seen the?
One sec, moderator.
Sure.
Do you have all the data and videos for this, Abel, that I can go over?
I could do this next full moon. I had it on a tablet, but I don't know where it's at now. But
that's interesting that the data's disappeared for a very important experiment that you did.
We have something called the full moon that's coming every month.
Yeah.
So don't worry.
It's amazing. It's amazing that you did this incredible scientific breakthrough, and you just lost the data. That's incredible, Abel. Brilliant. Well done. All my data is available on my Discord server.
They find something like this so far out of their realm that they got to go straight to the insult. Something.
I didn't insult. I asked you for evidence of your claim. You said I've lost it.
No problem. We've got another full moon coming. I'll give you all the data. I'll go buy a brand new thermometer, digital, and we could check it out.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough. Does that sound good to you?
Do the experiment live and show us all. Why don't you?
Sure.
Yeah.
No problem.
Because there is no such thing as cold light.
Okay. You're making a claim again without.
No. It's a fact. Cold light can't exist.
I'd like to. I'm gonna. I want to show something. This is Ken Wheeler. He's pretty interesting. Here's an experiment with the moonlight, and just independent. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what the problems with this might be, but he's showing the difference of the moonlight in the shade, and also just in direct moonlight. And then he's got the infrared. Yeah. Camera on, and then so what you see with the red is you see a warm parking lot that's been collecting sunlight all day long.
Yeah,
and so obviously that's skewed. That's not demonstrating anything.
Warm there.
I'd like to.
Got a full moon and we've got a shadow. So let's do in the light of the full moon, 16 degrees Fahrenheit, 16 degrees Fahrenheit, 13, 12. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, this is an excellent example of radiative cooling.
You can't see the shadow, but I am absolutely pointing it in the shadow. 22 degrees average.
Yeah.
22.
Brilliant. This is
hang on.
what I was saying.
Do you understand what he's doing?
18,
yeah, he's 19. Looking in the shadow right now, and it's warmer.
So it's radiative cooling, yeah, and the shadow is keeping it warm.
Yeah, because a shadow means that there's something in the way, right? So the heat can't escape as well.
What?
19.
Well, what do you mean?
Also
Abel, what makes a shadow if something's in the way of the light, right?
Wait a minute. You're saying that what we're experiencing isn't really happening. I've done this 6 times.
I didn't say that at all. Please don't strawman me. I just explained that in the shadow, it will be warmer because a shadow means that there's something there.
So can I make an observation based on the like the beginning of the scientific method here and to ask about this?
Yeah.
And this is something I think would we agree that if we were standing under a tree during direct sunlight, that the top of the leaf would be cooler than the bottom of the leaf?
Sorry, say that again.
So if I were standing under a tree in direct sunlight and I measured the temperature on the bottom of the leaf,
the bottom would be cooler.
It'd be slightly cooler than the top of the leaf.
Yes.
And so what you're saying is at night, as it's cooling, it. Oh, I'll wait. Oh, no, you got kids. I understand.
Yeah, I'm going to have to wrap this up soon.
Where are you at, by the way?
I'm in my house.
No, I mean in the world. Where are you?
In Scotland.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it's quite a bit later there than it is here. So, so what you're saying then that it's the opposite. That when
at night,
so it's like the tree is acting like shade from the heat.
Yeah. So obviously during the day, everything collects energy from the sun. Buildings, floor, trees, grass, everything collects energy from the sun.
Yeah.
Right.
And during the night, when it's not collecting that energy, it radiates that heat back out. Okay.
But it radiates faster in the direct moonlight than it does in the shadow of the moonlight.
If you were, say this is the floor and it's radiating heat out, okay? But you put a table here, okay? Underneath the table here, it's going to be warmer.
This is a model, by the way, not an experiment.
Yeah. So
have you done an experiment?
So
my question is,
going to radiate more. So the ground here is going to appear cooler where there's open air than the ground here where it's got something above it because the heat can't radiate as much.
Okay,
it's called.
I understood what your point was. I'm just saying that, like, have you tested that?
Yeah, with the experiment that I demonstrated with the glass of water every day for a month.
Okay.
Okay. You know what you didn't do? You know what you didn't do? This is what I do. This is what I did, besides the completely opposite of what you did with the radiant heat. What I did was I took solid blocks of 1-inch square aluminum out of my shop, and I have about 3 of them. And I kept them all in the same room, inside, in the dark. And I put them during the moonlight, and I set all 3 in the moonshade. I divided them, put some in the moonlight and moonshade. And I've got a completely lower reading on every single one. I didn't start outside. My aluminum was in the house, controlled environment. And as soon as I brought it out, within seconds, I've got that lower reading.
Because it's going to be able to radiate more heat when it's colder. Obviously, and outside is going to be colder in general, which is going to, transfer heat from the block to the air itself. So the second you take that block outside, regardless of the moonlight, the block's going to start cooling down.
Oh, right. Then how come the one that was in the moon shade was much colder than the one in the moonlight?
That doesn't happen. Have you got like data to back this up?
I'll do that one next month too, but I've done what you.
What Ken Wheeler was just showing there is the opposite of what you just said.
No, he's showing radiant heat from the day. My controls are inside. He didn't show that, did he? Did he show 3 controls going outside of the house?
But the question is whether moonlight is cooling, right?
Yeah, and that whole experiment has nothing to do with what I described to you. What I'm describing is pointing the telescope not on the ground, not in an object. But
I know. You've made this lovely claim, Abel, but you've got no evidence to back up what you're saying.
Just like you're claiming that it's not true.
Well, no, I have an experiment that I performed and recorded it in my Discord server.
But can you put it on the link?
You can just go to my Discord server.
It's not what I did. You completely described it different. I asked you how you measured the temperature of the mirror, and you said you didn't.
Yeah, I told you the experiment I did, but you're saying you measured the mirror and that, but then I asked you for evidence, and you said I lost the tablet. So
completely different experiments. Yes.
Yeah, both trying to test the same claim, whether moonlight is cold.
No,
which is not.
Well, they're two different experiments, and you're claiming you performed one type. I'm suggesting another, and yet you're saying it's completely false.
No, I'm not. I'm saying that what you're proposing would happen wouldn't happen.
Oh, well, I guess it didn't happen then.
Well, you've got no evidence for it, so.
Sure, no problem. Let's do it live.
Yeah, I would love for you to do live and prove that Moonlight is cold and win a Nobel Prize.
I think you and the moderator should have a nice hour sometime when you have time. Because you said
so
that
just do me a favor. When you're picking up your Nobel Prize for completely flipping the laws of thermodynamics on its head, just let me know. All right?
Say again?
When you're picking up your Nobel Prize for completely flipping the laws of thermodynamics on their head, just let me know.
Next month? No problem.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
Okay. No problem.
So anyway, I'm going to have to go now because, I spent all day with my daughter's birthday and I haven't really had time to spend with my wife today. So I'm going to go and do some of that. I've still got a video to record and stuff, but I'd like to thank the moderator for doing this. I'd like to thank Abel for demonstrating that he knows absolutely nothing about science.
And I'd like to thank you for all your presuppositions. They were a surprise.
Again, if you want to call the scientific method a presupposition, then that's on you.
Fight the flock, 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 fight the flock,